Ladies and gentlemen, this is TVP World. You're watching another edition of Break the Fake, where we debunk fake news and combat false narratives. I'm your host, Benjamin Lee, and let's get rolling. So, something resembling an architectural diplomacy has happened in Bishkek this week. A giant LED screen suddenly appeared on the streets between the Ukrainian embassy and the residence of the president of Kyrgyzstan. And no, it wasn't showing ads for SIM cards or concert posters. So the screen went right up before the visit of Vladimir Putin, the man whose team treats him like a rare orchid that can't be exposed to unexpected stimuli. Now, since there's only one route between the buildings, social media immediately floated the obvious theory. The giant panel was installed to shield Putin from accidentally seeing the Ukrainian flag, because who knows how he'd react? A nervous tremor, an emergency bunker trip, some claim that the flag provoked him.
Посольство Украины в Бишкеке. Украинский флаг, бронированный автомобиль. И тут вот такая стена между посольством и президентским дворцом Интемак, Ордо. Ничего необычного, просто меры безопасности. Всякое же может случиться. Все в ожидании приезда президента России Владимира Путина.
So Putin arrived for the CSTO summit, and Kyrgyzstan prepared as if it wasn't a politically isolated war criminal landing, but Beyonce. Traffic in Bishkek and the Chui region was restricted. Ukrainian schools were switched to online classes, officially because of traffic, unofficially so that no kid with a backpack wandered into the wrong frame. Even universities moved to remote learning. The entire capital basically pressed Do Not Disturb so Putin could travel between checkpoints without encountering anything inconvenient, pedestrians' opinions, or flags with the wrong colors. When a country had to erect a giant LED wall to hide the Ukrainian flag from a visitor, the problem probably isn't the flag but the visitor. If your strong leader can walk down the street without authorities blocking roads, moving children indoors, and putting up giant screens to filter reality, that's really not signaling strength, is it? And the conclusion, of course, writes itself. When a dictator is terrified of a piece of cloth in another country's colors, maybe the problem isn't the colors, it's the crimes that make him unable to face them. From now on, Russian language classes will be mandatory in North Korean schools starting in the 4th grade. This was proudly announced by Alexander Kozlov, Russia's Minister of Natural Resources. man who somehow ended up co-chairing the Russian-North Korean Intergovernmental Commission, proving that in Moscow, job descriptions are merely decorative. Kozlov claims that Russian is one of the 3 most popular foreign languages in the DPRK. The official line is high interest. The real line is closer to we weren't asked. Now today, around 600 North Koreans study Russian, roughly the same number of Russian children learning the word sanctions in kindergarten. For comparison, 3,000 Russians are learning Korean, just in case they need a backup future, a new passport, or somewhere to avoid conscription. Kozlov also boasted that 29 North Korean geologists completed training in Russia this year. They learned how to search for minerals, analyze samples, and work with databases, basically how to find things underground that Moscow can later helpfully point out for extraction. At this rate, the next joint educational program might be titled Where to Dig When Everything Valuable Has Already Been Dug Up. So we have North Korea making Russian compulsory, Russia training North Korean specialists, and both regimes pretending this is a cultural partnership instead of just 2 isolated states exchanging whatever scraps of relevance they still have left. But the real point is simple. This isn't about education at all. It's a political gesture dressed up as a school reform, a signal of loyalty from one isolated regime to another. When foreign languages are introduced not for opportunity but for obedience, it stops looking like learning and starts looking like marching orders. In the latest episode of Vladimir Solovyov's show, viewers were treated to a fresh revelation. According to the latest update in Kremlin mythology, the European Union is now a kind of a collective Nazi body preparing an assault on holy Russian soil.
В последнее время напоминает мне лечебный процесс, когда переводят из острой формы в хроническую. Они затихают, но никуда не уходят.
Вот это и очень опасно. Да.
Это естественно. Мы себе придумали другую историю. И этот с греховным именем ничего не понимает. Ничего. Это особенность американцев. Потому что на своей земле они очень давно не воевали.
Да.
Поэтому для них война – это абстракция.
110 лет.
А для нас это история наших семей.
И это жизнь.
Аккурат.
Конечно. Поэтому они никогда не
110
поймут, в чем наша проблема с Украиной. Они вообще этого не поймут. Европейцы не поймут, почему у нас такое отношение к нацистам. Потому что они сами нацисты.
Конечно.
Это их деды и прадеды. Они этого
Это
ничего не поймут.
нацистский Евросоюз
Поэтому
пришел
нашу ненависть
на
к ним,
нашу
они
родину.
говорят, ну а что такого? Я говорю, помним его прадедушку, дедушку. Замечательные люди, как этот сволочь рассказывал. Анна-Лена Бербок и все прочее. Вот и все.
So if you follow the logic of Solovyov's studio, a brave task in itself, the sequence of the alleged attackers goes like this. First, Ukraine invaded Russia, then the United States took over the role of the main villain, and now the EU has apparently joined the cast. One gets the impression that the propagandists have a spinning wheel behind the camera titled Who Attacked Us This Week, and then each broadcast is just another spin. Now at this rate, the next culprit will be, I don't know, Antarctica. The penguins don't talk much, and in Kremlin's logic, that is very suspicious. And here's the actual conclusion. When every week brings a new enemy, the problem is not the outside world, it's the imagination of those who need enemies to fill airtime. A state that keeps naming new attackers from Ukraine to the US to the EU isn't just projecting power, it's projecting panic. And with that, we conclude this edition of Break the Fake. But for more news, update, and commentary, please stay tuned to TVP World.